The simplicity of finding just one thing that's going to make all the difference. Solve everything. Okay, maybe not quite that much. I'm Andrew Laurie from BGB, and I do just want to talk today about that one thing. Identifying the one thing that's going to have the most significant impact and directing your attention at that. It's a conversation I've been having with a few clients in the context of, on the one hand, starting to think about plans for the new calendar year as we lead into Christmas, but it actually applies to any period of time. Going into a year, going into the next 90-day plan, going into planning your next week, going in even to planning tomorrow. If you can have clarity about one thing, have one priority, and make sure it happens, it's amazing the progress you make. Interestingly enough, I was reading the other day, priority as a word actually only existed in the singular form for about 500 years. And then at some point last century, that I think the plural version of it was added. And it's funny, a priority was always meant to be the priority, the one thing, the foremost thing. And now, of course, you hear people talking about, here are my list of my top 10 priorities. It's kind of almost an oxymoron. But anyway, so let's get to this one thing. And funnily enough, I'm going to suggest two things, but it's different context. So it's still really almost one thing. The two things I would think about. Start by asking yourself, first question, what is my one highest priority goal? So this is to say, what is the one goal that comes above all others? What is the one goal that's most valuable? Perhaps what is the one goal that I would willingly sacrifice my other goals in order to achieve it? It's that level of priority. It's that level of clarity. Of course, the thinking that goes behind that is half the value. But if you can start any period of time knowing that there is one goal that I will absolutely make sure I will achieve, and if you achieve it, you're going to make huge progress. If you've given it considerable thought and you've identified what is truly the most important goal, the most valuable goal, and you have an understanding from the outset that whilst I will no doubt aim to achieve a number of goals in this period of time, I will absolutely make sure that one goal is achieved. It comes above all others. The second question is, what is my single, again, it's only one, my single greatest point of leverage? So what is the one thing into which I will commit most focus, time, energy, attention that will have the greatest impact? So this is now talking about not just a goal, but this is talking about where you're actually going to focus your energies. And if you go into any period, think deeply about what is the one thing that would have the biggest impact, and make sure you then commit the most energy, time, focus, and so on to it. So for example, it might be in a business, it's going to be things like, what is the one recruit? What's the one person, if I could recruit them in the next quarter, would make the biggest difference to my business? Or what is the one person in my team who, if I can develop them to a certain level or in a certain area, that would make the biggest difference to my team, to my business? And then you go about focusing on that. It might be, what is the one process, the one system, the one activity that if we introduce that, if we implement that, if we change, if we improve that, that will have the biggest impact in my business. Identify that one point of leverage, that one thing that if you really dedicate your time and effort to and make progress with, will have the biggest, typically, knock-on effect. It won't be just a one-off success. It'll be just makes the biggest difference to my business. If we fixed our sales process and got conversion doubled, that's the thing, great. So just make sure you commit the time, effort, and energy then to working on your sales process. So identifying that one thing, that activity, that process, that person, that one part of your things in your control, of course, but it's how you commit your time, your energy, and your effort, your focus, your attention to that. If you're very clear at the end of any period that you've achieved those things, you'll be celebrating. Which goes back to, if you're very clear at the beginning of the period, what is my priority goal and what is my single greatest point of leverage? Commit your focus, your energy, your attention to those first. Make sure you leverage this and achieve that. You'll make massive progress in every period of time. Enjoy it. All the best.